Welcome to Her Fantasy Football. You can hear us on Blog Talk Radio /Her Fantasy Football and on iTunes. Make sure to subscribe to us on herfantasyfootball.com so you can know what we're doing this offseason. Preseason is approaching.
It's here.
It's here. Also,
camp.
you can chat with us on Twitter at Her Fantasy FB and on Facebook /Her Fantasy Football. I'm your host, Courtney Kirby.
And I'm Ashley Williams.
And I'm Brandon Lee. Brandon Marianne Lee.
Brandon Marianne Lee. Every week it's going to be something a little different, folks, coming up from Brandon's camp. It's pretty exciting. It's pretty exciting.
The name conversation got a lot of buzz last week.
It did, actually. I almost edited it out, and I'm glad I didn't, because everybody really laughed about it.
They were like, Brandon Marilili was an idiotic move, Brandon. Why'd you pick your mate?
Love it.
I know. Agreed.
I love it. We're going to start off the show talking about some NFL news because there's actually things that are relevant to talk about. This is a very exciting week. We'll talk about suspensions a little bit later, but real quick, we want to do a big congratulations to Eric Berry from the Kansas City Chiefs. He's back on the field after being diagnosed in December with Hodgkin's lymphoma, so congratulations. Awesome. You are amazing. Just so great. What a wonderful turnaround. True blessing.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just cleared from having cancer on June 22nd. He's only 26 years old, 3-time Pro Bowler, and now has come back from cancer. I mean, I can't believe the amount of things he's accomplished. Yeah.
Yeah. But he had made some comment that he's like, literally, you feel like you're literally dying. And so I just was in the gym because I didn't want to die. Like, oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh, how awful.
Listening to his press conference, I was like getting tears in my eyes. I thought, gosh, this man's struggle just by himself. He talked about being by himself and how intense that was and that it's really important to be one with yourself. And I was just like, okay, I support you. And even though, this show, by the way, we're all sisters too, which people keep asking us how we know each other, and I'm like, well, we've known each other about 30 plus years. But thank you.
Yeah.
But we were born and raised Broncos fans. But man, I'm cheering for Eric Berry. Go Kansas City.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Good for you. It's very exciting and a big plus for the Chiefs to have him back. So it's a good thing. Also, we have a woman coach.
Huge.
Huge. It's huge. Dr. Jen Welter has been assigned to the Arizona Cardinals assistant coach team. I am so excited. She's very qualified. So
yeah,
it's awesome. Yeah.
Well, she's officially an intern. So here's the deal. She's not guaranteed to be a coach going into the season. So she's just guaranteed right now to assist the linebackers coach in the training camp phase and the preseason. This is kind of the way that they try out new players, or former players, I should say, to see if they have coaching chops. And here's the deal. She has 15 years of football experience.
Totally.
Okay? And she is the first woman to have a non-kicking position as a football player on a man's team ever. She played running back. And she also was the linebackers and special teams coach for the Texas Revolution, which, by the way, is owned by future Hall of Famer, as in a week from now, Tim Brown. And he loves her. Mm-hmm. And he thinks she's very qualified. And Bruce Arians actually last year was talking about how, women can coach in this league. It's about time. I think Bruce Arians is amazing. And
I'm not
do you
even
guys remember like
surprised
last year me saying this? That I was like, I would love to coach with Bruce Arians, Chip Kelly, or Mark Trestman. They're my guys. I'm so proud that it's him. I'm excited. Yeah. I just also, she has a master's in sports psychology and a PhD in regular psychology. She is a doctor. I keep saying, I know she's Coach Welter, but she's also Dr. Jen Welter. Let's put that out there.
I mean, and if she wasn't standing next to those other football players, I mean, she is built. I mean, she looks like she's been playing football. I mean, she looks...
She's in shape.
Yeah, she looks tough. So, I mean... it's just fabulous. It's just it's a great thing, and I hope she gets to stay on through the regular season.
Well, I hope she does
the interviews.
I hope she does. Huh? No, I didn't get to. I saw one short clip, but that's it.
Yeah, well, they were asking like the typical questions, like, well, what do you think you can bring? And she's like, well, I mean, I was a former player, and a coach, and I have a doctorate of psychology. Man, I hope I can find something to bring. I was like, oh.
So that's a question they would ask anybody. That's not just because she was a woman.
Oh, no, but she's got a little fire in there. And not only that, but I love that she was proud to be a woman. And she said, like, she didn't even know this was a dream she could have. And this is for all women and girls who love football.
Yeah.
She was very cool. And there she was putting on the helmet and being fun and wearing nail polish and lipstick and being like, yeah, I'm a woman and you need to respect me because I have the qualifications.
And she's 5'2".
I'm 5'2".
She's just like this little...
Pint size.
Oh my God, just like, yeah, they could like eat you. She's just like, it's awesome.
She's
so
cool.
good. Yeah, she's so
She follows
cool.
us on Twitter too. Please don't stop following us on Twitter.
You're amazing.
It was
No,
amazing.
you're amazing. Yeah.
It's been
great.
a big summer, too, because you got Hammonds with the Spurs and the NBA. We got the first, and she's actually a coach now. So, again, kind of starting that intern program. She did the same thing. She went and did some of the summer ball where she coached them, and they got first in their particular camp. And all of them, Greg loves her, and he's praising her. Bruce Arians, he's on board with, Welter, and it's just, this is just a really great summer for women right now. It's fantastic.
Well, people keep bringing up the NFL experience. Only 19% of NFL coaches, the head coaches in 2014, had any NFL experience. Only 19%. 2 of the 6 head coaches that were with NFL experience, both got fired. So, listen, I haven't gone through all the coaches this year to do the percentages, but that was last year's numbers. Also, 27 of the last 29 Super Bowls were won by teams with their head coach with 0 NFL experience. Also, Todd Haley, who is the offensive coordinator of possibly the greatest offense going into 2015, and also is a head coach for the Kansas City Chiefs, and in my opinion was fired way too soon, and maybe he has a personality or whatever, but certainly his football mind is never in question. He never even played high school football. He literally has never played football. He was a golfer. You'll love this. He was a golfer in high school, went on to be a pro golfer, and didn't even start doing anything related to football until his late 20s. So don't give me this, she can't possibly know. Why? I don't know why I'm making this voice.
Well,
that's
and it's great.
I don't know what I'm talking about, boys.
We're women who support women, but it is a lot easier to support somebody who is so qualified.
Yeah,
she is. She's just. It's a great place to start. Thank you.
Thank you
very much, Doctor.
Cheers.
Woo! Cheers to you.
Cheers to you.
This is my
Let's move on to some suspensions, you guys, because it was quite the exciting week, Mr. Tom Brady.
And it continues.
So on Tuesday, Brady's suspension for 4 games due to Deflategate was upheld by Roger Goodell in the NFL. The NFLPA and Brady officially filed suit against the NFL. But Minnesota passed the buck to Manhattan. They don't want it. It's
because the NFL filed first in New York.
Roger Goodell's a lot of things,
I thought they
dumb
filed in Minnesota, and Minnesota said, nope, we're going to pass it over to Manhattan.
NFLPA wanted it in Minnesota, but the moment that Goodell said that he's going to uphold the 4-day suspension, he knew, and that was part of the delays, that he knew that Brady was going to go after him, so they got all their ducks in a row, and they filed in New York because in Minnesota happens to be the judge they were hoping for, who essentially always sides with the players.
Right.
But in fairness, everything's been held on the East Coast thus far, and Brady is, in Massachusetts, and so I'm not sure it really makes sense to all of a sudden be in Minnesota. I mean,
and good for that judge too. He could have been like, whatever, but he was like, this isn't fair. They filed first. Everything's happened on the East Coast, including where Tom Brady lives. Why would you come here other than trying to cheat the system? I mean, he knew what they were doing.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and I shouldn't say cheat the system. But I will say, this is kind of game over.
Choose the system, perhaps?
I'm going to choose my words.
Cheat
the system. It's a cheater who's trying to cheat the system. To each their own. It's fine. Do I agree that it should have been 4 games? I don't know. I think that may be intense when you're giving people like Greg Hardy 4 games, right? So I don't know. I mean, but But do I think this one's too low? I don't think it's too low.
But what I will say
is that
he was offered down to
who
one
are
game.
doing what they're doing. If he were to give up the phone and to cooperate,
no, he would have admitted guilt.
He would have had to say, yeah, he would have. Well, not even really there. Right. He kind of basically had to say that yes, the players. Were aware of what the pressure was, the balls were lower. It didn't even say that he told them they had to do it, just that those players were aware, and then it said that he was not cooperating. His guilt was that I have not fully cooperated, and he still would have gone docked down to 1. He's like, no. Which I don't know what to make of it. I don't know.
I'll tell you what I make of it.
Do share.
Bad counsel from the get-go for Tom Brady. And if I was Tom Brady, I'd be very upset with the people who told me that I should act the way that I've acted. Because frankly, if he would have just said, listen, I like it at the minimum PSI. If my guys did that, if they decreased it below that, that's on them. They know exactly what I want. Because let's not pretend like he was protecting them, because they fired those guys.
Yeah.
Okay, they did throw them under the bus. They fired them.
Right.
And the NFL didn't do that. The Patriots did that. So don't act like you were trying to protect them. You fired the equipment guys. So he needed to just say straight up, listen, they know that I like it as low PSI as possible. If they went below that, that's not my job. My job is to tell them what I prefer. Their job is to give me that.
I just don't believe that Tom Brady's people didn't tell him that. I think that Tom Brady chose not to listen to the people around him and try to marry what he likes and what he was told to what he felt comfortable with.
Well, and we're talking about timing, right? He was probably also really scared that he wouldn't be able to play in the Super Bowl.
Right.
So he tried to protect himself for the Super Bowl. Because now, like, frankly, if it would have come out now, he probably said, yeah, whatever. Know?
Yeah. Because it would never have affected his legacy. I mean, at the end of the day, when I would be like, Tom Brady is not a Hall of Fame quarterback because this balls were slightly under the limit. No, of course not. Of course not. But again, the problem here is that there's been just, and I don't want to make it the cell phone thing, right? Because I'm like, okay, first of all, the fact that you went through 4 cell phones in like the matter of a season or even a few months is a little crazy to me. But how is it in this day and age they're not able to get the text messages still? Everything's in a cloud. Everything's virtual.
Because, and this is the problem, we keep looking at this like a criminal investigation. The NFL is not the cops, okay? They are not the cops. So they cannot issue a subpoena to demand the phone records, okay? So
but Brady's trying to say he offered it up, and they said, oh, don't worry, you don't have to give it to us. And then now they're using it against him, saying,
he's full of it.
I broke a phone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I mean...
Well, I just heard today on ESPN that actually he gave them the phone up to November 2nd, and then the phone after the Super Bowl, but he destroyed the phone in between, a.k.a. the phone they would have wanted.
Right.
Yeah, I don't believe any of that.
I think
with the whole investigation, it went down. Yeah, it does. Yeah. I personally think it's like a bigger conspiracy. I'm just gonna throw this out there, but I just don't think that necessarily the Patriots want Brady back. I think that's why they took.
That's crazy.
That's insane. I say that they want this to be his last year. And if it's his last year as the New England Patriots, I'm saying it here first, they're ready to move on. From Belichick's press conference, right when the ball deflating happened, throwing Brady under the bus immediately, with Kraft hugging Goodell the day after he took the biggest penalty in NFL history, to, I think it's all just calculated.
Kraft did that because he wanted Brady. He did that because he thought
that's what he says. That's what he says.
The whole thing is a giant spectacle. I love that Kraft likes to sit there and play it like Goodell, had the headline, Brady destroys phone, to try to create all this like hype around the story. I'm like, you were doing the exact same thing. I will say, Courtney, that I over the years have not been necessarily a Belichick fan, but I have been so amused and loving Belichick that he won't even say a word about it. And that to me says the most, that Belichick will not make a single comment. He's not defending Brady in any way, shape, or form.
No, but he's not defaming Brady either.
That's what I'm saying. He's not doing anything. He is not at all.
No, but when he did that initial press conference, when it all came out, he was like, go talk to the quarterback. The quarterback handles the balls. This is a Tom Brady question. I had known nothing. You should go talk to Tom Brady. I'm sure Tom Brady can answer these questions.
Well, because he was still possibly under the line of fire.
Well,
but I think he's mad because Kraft does this deal, takes the biggest fine in NFL history, loses draft picks, and Kraft did this thinking this is going to mean they're going to exonerate Tom, and Tom's not going to be suspended anymore. We're just still going to have Tom or whatever. And he's just irate that he took this hit, and Tom's going to be gone. And now Belichick's like, I'm gone. I don't know my starting quarterback. You've now completely screwed over my situation for next year in terms of how I'm going to build this team. I do have an aging quarterback. We don't know what we have in Garoppolo. I mean, if I was Belichick, I would be irate.
Oh, Belichick is a master at this stuff. I think he's going to be just fine. I think he's actually going to enjoy this challenge of not having Brady for the first 4 games.
Any of you? I mean, I've said this on SiriusXM too. So if you guys are from SiriusXM and listening now, if any of you play Settlers of Catan,
oh no.
It's the ultimate nerdy game, and it's lovely, and if you do, you love it. And I'm telling you, Bill Belichick thinks he's playing Settlers of Catan, but the Cities and Knights expansion pack, and he's going to dominate.
Nice.
Which means he's elevated it. That's what I'm saying.
I agree.
So I think he's like, oh yeah, fine, I'll win this division. By the way, still, I don't think there's any way he doesn't win this division. He's going to win the division. Yeah. He doesn't care. I mean, listen, whatever. It's fine.
I mean, I hope they don't win the division, but yeah, I mean...
Who's going to beat them?
It's a very tough division.
No way.
Miami's getting better. I mean, they'll still win. Miami's better. Buffalo's getting better, but Buffalo still doesn't really have a quarterback.
They don't have a quarterback. The Jets have Geno Smith.
Vetted, round-out team.
They just put Stephen Ridley on the PUP list.
Jets are Jets.
Miami had to put Devontae Parker, this guy that they thought was going to replace Mike Wallace, on the PUP list.
But they said there's no way he's going to be on the PUP list come week 1.
Yeah, well, I've heard that before.
If there's ever a chance, it's this year that somebody else is going to beat the Patriots out. It's possible. It's possible. Real quick, guys, Le'Veon Bell's suspension was reduced to 2 games. So that's good.
Yep.
That's good.
Number 1 pick to me.
Number 1 pick to me, too.
Number 1 pick for me as well. Yep.
We love us some Le'Veon Bell and the Pittsburgh Steelers. There we go. Done and done.
You know what I love, though, is that he's like, I don't know why my, penalty got reduced. Don't really care. Gonna play ball.
I do, because it occurred during one drug policy. They changed the drug policy, and then they punished him under the second one.
They're like double jeopardy. But he's kind of like, I don't know, whatever. And then here with the Brady situation, it's like so down to
crying like a baby.
Crosshairs, but you know what? Good news though, Le'Veon Bell. It's great news.
Le'Veon Bell. All right, guys. Well, the rest of our show will be about the quarterbacks. Dun, 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 dun. Quarterback rankings. I'm going to go over the top 10 quarterbacks we have ranked for her fantasy football. Number 1, Aaron Rodgers. 2, Andrew Luck. 3, Russell Wilson. 4, Peyton Manning. 5, Drew Brees. Then we got Matt Ryan, Tony Romo, Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger, and finishing up the top 10, Mr. Cam Newton. We like to call him Cam Newtown sometimes in our outline because Brandon lives on Newtown. And she always writes Cam Newtown on her notes, which is
I do. Oh yeah. Why don't you just give my address like I killed Cecil the lion on our podcast?
Hey.
Jeez. The one thing we weren't going to bring up on our podcast was Cecil.
She lives on Newtown.
Jeez. Oh, come on. Jeez. How many Newtowns are there? There's a lot.
I am not a dentist.
There's a lot. Or a big game hunter.
Yeah, I have no depth perception, so I can't kill a lion even if I wanted.
No crossbow in Brandon's hand ever. Not happening.
Actually, the only things I was good at in PE were archery and shooting guns.
Yeah, that's true.
We lived in Nebraska, and yes, we shot guns during PE.
Yeah, you were actually really good at archery.
I was really good at archery.
It was literally the only,
but I did not do that.
You were decent at. Yeah. Yeah.
We always talk about how bad Brandon was in athletics, and because we've always talked about Brandon playing sports in our family, my oldest daughter wants to play sports like Brandon, and I always have to correct her. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, it's Ashley. Ashley was good. Brandon participated.
She got the ribbon for trying.
Yeah, exactly.
But hey, maybe if Scar wants to do archery, she can do it like Brandon.
That's right. Maybe so. All right, guys. Well, I have to say top tier is Luck and Rogers alone.
Yeah.
I don't know what you guys think. I think they're going off the boards the fastest. So when should Rogers and Luck come off the board in your guys' opinion?
Well, Brandon? Just to let you know, so each of us do different rankings, and I do the quarterbacks. So there's a lot of questions as to why I've ranked Rodgers over Luck. For me, it's about consistency, and it's about the fact they have 11 starters from their offense returning.
Yeah.
Therefore, I feel very confident that he's going to have the exact same numbers. I'm pretty sure Andrew Luck will too. To me, it was more of like a tiebreaker, right? I think that the same guy, I just used the tiebreaker on who had more returning players. That's all. And so I think that they're both great. I can tell you, know your league. Know your league. If you're playing with your friends, you're going to have to take them at the beginning of the round. Now, Courtney didn't include it in here, but I also marked down next to the names in my thing, they're ADP, and they're both going in like the first or second round.
Yeah, I got ADP Luck's 14 and Rogers is 17.
Yeah. So you're going to have to pick them in the first or second round, and if you're with your friends, absolutely. But I can tell you right now, I was in an expert league, the FFPC, which stands for Fantasy Football Players Championship. They're kind of the high-stakes people that you put in thousands of dollars and get millions back or whatever. The Pros versus Joes League with a bunch of crazy people, and I was in it with the Saplik brothers from the New York Times and late-round quarterback. So everyone there was late-round quarterback. I got Aaron Rodgers in the 4th round, 8th pick in a 12-team.
Wow.
And I took him over Andrew Luck. I did. And, I mean, that's value. So know your league. If you have a bunch of late-round quarterback guys, wait. But if you don't, take them early. I think they're worth it. I think they're solid.
Yeah, and I say 14th and 17th, and that is in standard leagues. In PPR, they are going a little bit below that, around 18th and 21st, I think.
Yeah, right.
And that's fine. I'm not that kind of girl. I don't like taking quarterbacks super high. I'd rather wait for a quarterback and get my running backs and top wide receivers off the board first.
But if you want them,
choose between
they won't be there.
Yeah, right, and it's true. So you can't take them. So if you want to take them, it really does affect your league. I wouldn't want to be the first to take one off. But if you do, it's all over from first, second, third round. It's really where they're going, and I'd say probably the end of the first round is kind of where you really have to start like, is this what I'm going to be doing? I love Rodgers, but I have to say I'm an Andrew Luck girl for sure. It's just that Rodgers is going up against Seattle, St. Louis, Arizona Cardinals, the Broncos, the Chiefs. You know, they have a really tough schedule this year. And although they do have more veterans or people that have been together longer, it's just that their schedule is quite a bit harder than Andrew Luck's. So I
can't argue with that.
I just feel like Luck has another easy year, another easy schedule. I mean, it's just like, ugh. I have to say I'm going Luck this year. I love Rodgers. He's very talented. It's not about the talent. It's about the schedule for me, and Luck wins out on that.
I mean, I think we're talking like teeny tiny differences here. Me personally, I would go Aaron Rodgers. He's a champion. He's a proven champion. He's got veterans. That's what tipped him over the edge for me personally. But you look at these guys, and at the end of the day, you're going to maybe have a 10-point spread between the 1 and 2 quarterback, which comes down to less than 1 point a game generally. I mean, you're not going to have it. What you taking Luck versus Rodgers or vice versa isn't going to make or break your season. The question is, like you're saying, do you want that strategy? Do you want to do that? Because you are going to have to take him at the turn in the first round if you want them. Right. Now, if like you said, Courtney, you wouldn't want to take one off the board first. I agree with you. I probably wouldn't, because again, the spread between that first guy and the 5th guy even is so nominal that I would rather get a better receiver, a better running back, because the spread is so much greater there. Personally, but
unless you're in a 2-quarterback league, then I totally understand you reaching for Rodgers and Luck. Like, got it.
But if I'm entering the 4th round and one of those 2 guys is still on the board, I am absolutely taking that over a wide receiver.
I can't believe they was on the board in 4th round.
I mean, that's fantastic.
Do you know who was taken before him? The pick before me.
Don't tell me Sammy Watkins.
Giovanni Bernard.
That is ludicrous.
Mind.
I was like, yeah, I'm sorry. Winning.
So you must have played against the Joes, not the Bros, huh? Bros, huh?
I just was like, Giovanni Bernard?
Crazy.
I don't want to be, like, rude, but, like, in the 4th round, Aaron Rodgers is value. So in the first round, debatable.
Debatable.
4th, no problem.
Well, we've kind of already talked about this. So if you're not going to draft Aaron Rodgers and Andrew Luck, when are you going to draft a quarterback?
I generally like to go in the 5th or 6th rounds where I like to get them. I generally want to get 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers for sure, and especially because there's kind of a grouping of 8 running backs you got to get your hand on. So that's basically should to some extent take up that kind of first round. You got Murray, Bell, Lynch, Forte, Foster, Lacey, Peterson, Charles. Those are the big guys, because there is a sizable
not in that order.
Those guys. Yeah, not in that order.
She's just listing. She's just.
Actually, it seemed very random, that order. Actually, it was kind of like
reverse.
Yeah, interesting. But there's a big drop off from there.
Sure.
So and then there's an even bigger drop off from these guys that are viable number 2 RB2s to your RB3 backups. It's brutal. So for me, I always go running backs first, then a wide receiver / a quarterback, depending on how that league is playing out. But I like to go for that 5th or 6th round again, because you can still get you can get like a Ben Roethlisberger, a Matt Ryan, a Peyton Manning even possibly in that 4th round.
For sure,
Drew Brees, which isn't going to be that much, far off from what Rodgers and Luck were doing.
Well, it looks like Brandon's around the 8th, 9th pick.
I mean, I kind of feel like I haven't done it yet. So I've done a lot of drafts, and because I've been drafting with quote unquote experts, these Aaron Rodgers and Andrew Lucks are dropping to me. So I keep getting them in the 4th round, and I'm like, that's quality. But if I'm playing against normal people, yes, I called the rest of us normal people, then I'm probably going to wait till like the 12th round maybe. And that's right. That's crazy. But I might even do like
crazy.
I mean maybe 8th, but I'd do like an Eli Manning, Teddy Bridgewater combo or something like that.
Yeah, I'm looking for like a Matt Ryan, Tony Romo. So I'm going like more the 6th or 7th rounds. And I think that's totally fine. You got 2 running backs, 3 receivers, or a tight end thrown in there. And then get one of those guys. Matt Ryan is, I think, a legit quarterback. So that's where I like it. Which quarterback between 5 and 10? We've got Drew Brees, Matt Ryan, Tony Romo, Tom Brady. Is he going to stay there? And Ben Roethlisberger. Do you guys have an eye on? So we're all gonna wait. We're all okay not taking Rodgers.
We're all waiting.
Yeah.
We're all gonna move on.
I'm not taking them in the 1st round.
Right. No. There's Russell Wilson and Peyton Manning in there too. We're okay passing them up too. We're gonna get our value with a running back or wide receiver there. But where are we seeing those 5 through 10 guys?
I mean, I do really like Drew Brees, and he seemingly always seems to put up big numbers, even when it doesn't feel like it. Like, you will watch the Saints games and be like, what happened to Drew Brees? And at the end of the game, he still has a lot of points for you. So
300 plus yards.
He was still the 5th highest scoring quarterback last year, and he did not look like it. with all that said, I still really like Big Ben Roethlisberger for fantasy, and the reason is he is constantly undervalued. He's always a top 10 quarterback, and Brandon's shaking her head because she just doesn't even want to ever get into Ben Roethlisberger. But last year he was the 6th in the rankings, and you could get him so low because he's never one of the quarterbacks people think about, but he is constantly top 10, top 5 even kind of quarterback.
Ashley, I picked Ben Roethlisberger too. That's my guy.
I
think he's totally undervalued. I think he's going to have a phenomenal year. They averaged 27.2 points last year. Roethlisberger's been stated that he believes they can do 30 points at least a game.
Yeah.
I believe it. When you have Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, and then his homeboy Heath Miller, who just somehow all of a sudden shows up in the middle of the games.
Well, yeah, and he had puppies for wide receivers last year that have another year.
Brian Tech. Oh, come on.
Yeah, and with Bell out 2 games, you know this means that, and they're going up against a Brady-less Patriots. Yep. It is going to be throw, yards all over the place.
He had the exact same yards as Drew Brees last year. 48 yards short of 5,000. 32 touchdowns and only 9 interceptions. I mean, he can't run to save your life. I mean, he is a Peyton Manning when it comes to the backfield. But I'm telling you, like...
And this guy's basically injury prone. When you got a lot of quarterbacks that get hurt, Big Ben plays through every injury imaginable. You can count on him week in, week out.
Best trio in football.
Brandon, now that we're done with our Ben Roethlisberger rant, are you going to roll your eyes and say someone else?
I mean, yes. I think that his stats are extremely inflated. He had 1 game of 522 yards, 1 game of 435 yards, and then a variety of mediocre games. So he did have 2 historic outings, and if you had played him in those outings, which you probably wouldn't have because he was playing Indianapolis and he was playing New Orleans. So New Orleans, yeah, you probably would have played him.
Indianapolis' defense was awful too.
Yeah, but Indianapolis, remember they had that good run though in the middle, and that's exactly when Ben Roethlisberger went in there and banged things up.
But if you look historically, he is up there in every category every year.
Yeah, but he's a boomer bust guy.
He's not a Luck or a Rodgers, but when you look at the end of the day, points-wise, he is up there. He is a top 10 quarterback.
You'll win about 6 of your matchups on him. Yeah. Out of 16.
Oh, Brandon.
Who do you choose, Brandon?
I'm just saying, like, his stats are very up and down, and I feel personally like he's a Cam Newton in that category where, you know, at the end of the season, he's the number, you know, he's a top 10 guy, but you didn't feel like that if you owned him. And that's how I feel about Ben Roethlisberger as a...
I owned him, and I felt good about it.
All right, I like it. I love Antonio Brown, and I love Le'Veon Bell, so it doesn't make a lot of sense, but, you know, when I look at Roethlisberger's stats, I'm a Matt Ryan girl all the way. And you know it's not because I love Kyle Shanahan. I just want to put that out there one more time. He is not my man. But I do think that Julio Jones and Roddy White are fantastic. And also, you know, listen, no one's talking about this guy at all. He's just dropping off. He had 4,694 yards, which was 5th in the league. He had 28 touchdowns, which doesn't sound very impressive, and I think it'll actually go up. But still, that was tied for 10th in the league. He only had 14 interceptions all season, which, you know, based on the fact that they were playing from behind and he had to throw all the time, actually wasn't that bad. I feel like this was a down year, and he was still pretty good. And I can get him whenever.
But I will say, Brandon, that I will say
he's a fragile little puppy.
Roethlisberger had more passing touchdowns. He had more passing yards, long passes. He had nearly the same pass attempts, only like 8 less or so, no, 20 less. Almost the same passes completed. I mean, it's just, they're right there. You're just a Matt Ryan fan. I like Matt Ryan too. Again, none of us are, you know, going to go there for the Rodgers and the Luck because we're content with the Roethlisbergers and the Ryans of the world.
Right. It's true.
Moral of that story.
Moral of that story. Real quick, ladies, will Drew Brees be affected this year without Mr. Jimmy Graham?
Yeah, but it won't be as much as, am I reading this correctly? Yes, it's me. Yes. Okay. Sorry. I had a computer mess up, you guys. This is a podcast, so we can actually talk about that. Something went weird. We're back. I don't think he'll be as effective as Jimmy Graham will, because Russell Wilson had in 2014 30% less yards and 39% less passing touchdowns than Drew Brees. So I actually think Drew Brees is going to be fine. No one's talking about Brandon Cooks. In 10 games, he caught 53 passes. I mean,
I got Brandon Cooks ranked pretty high. I think a lot of people have him ranked high. Nobody's talking about him, but he's ranked there.
Yeah, I think he's
definitely ranked there.
Exactly, but no one's talking about him. So if you are someone that just kind of is like, we're telling you, talk about him. He's the guy. Colston is alive. They put him on the PUP list, really, because he's 32, and they just want to protect him. But he's fine. He's going to be the slot guy you can get for free at the end of your draft. And then they're going to do a committee in the backfield, which will tick all of us off that play fantasy football. Yep. But as far as the Ingram Spiller thing, that's going to be great for Brees because it's going to open up the pass game. They're going to have to respect the run between the two of them. So I feel fine about him moving forward. I don't think he'll be the number one guy, but I certainly think that he's going to be a great pick where he is right now, which is between the 4th and the 8th round, depending on what your league is like.
Yeah. Ashley, real quick, what do you think?
I mean, I agree. Like I said, he seemingly always does well, even when you don't think he is. He was the 5th highest scoring quarterback last year. He was the 2nd highest in 2013. Those were the Jimmy Graham years, but Jimmy Graham was hurt last year. Granted, he's Jimmy Graham, so all the defensives still have to, actually, make plays around him, even if they are using him as just a decoy. You got a subpar running back, like Brandon says, but who cares? That doesn't really affect, Drew Brees. I think he's going to do fine. I wouldn't reach for him in the first round, but if you get him in that 4 to 8 range, you feel good about it.
Yep. I mean, Jimmy Graham zeroed out twice last year.
Yes, he did.
And he had 5 games under 60 yards with no touchdowns. So
he was hurt,
Yeah, if they had traded Jimmy Graham after the 2013 season, I think it would have been a lot harder for Drew Brees and the New Orleans offense to adjust. But they didn't have that same Jimmy Graham last year, so I think it's going to be a lot easier of a transition, So I'm down. I think we're okay with Drew Brees. No reaching, but he's still going to be great.
Don't reach. Yeah.
I love some of the quarterbacks that fall between 11 and 15. We got Ryan Tannehill, Eli Manning, Teddy Bridgewater, Sam Bradford, and Matthew Stafford. I love those names. Hey, wait for these guys. They're going to be just fine. Ashley, what do you think? Can Bradford stay healthy with his new team in Philly?
Why are you making me pick on the nice guy?
Oh, you don't have to pick.
Why? I do, though. I do. I mean, here's the deal. Is it possible he's going to stay healthy? Absolutely. And I am rooting. Let me speak very clear. I am rooting for Sam Bradford. He seems to be one of the nicest guys in the NFL. And when he went down last year in the preseason, let alone, I was just like, your heart broke for him.
We thought his career was over.
Yeah, we didn't think he was coming back this year.
He just has freak injuries, and then even his doctor said it was incredibly a freak chance that he was going to hurt the same ACL that he had just torn the year before, and boom, 3rd preseason game, he goes down. But I'm going to review a little bit of his history to give you kind of a full picture of why I'm saying 2009 in college, his shoulder, he underwent surgery there for his AC joint. 2009, we had another issue with his shoulder. Bradford enters the NFL in 2010. 2011, it's an ankle injury. He's out for 5 games. 2012, plays the season. Fantastic. 2013, he goes down with an ACL in Week 7. He's out majority of the games, obviously. 2014, preseason, he goes down with the same ACL. So, I mean, it's not looking great in terms of history of injuries for Bradford, So, and even if you do look at the first 2 seasons of play, in his rookie season, he had the 7th most passes completed and the 3rd most pass attempts. But sadly, he also showed up in the sacked category, sacked yards lost, and interceptions. He was in the top 10 for all those categories. Same thing really happened in 2012. It didn't get a whole lot better. So, I am rooting for him, but I think, a lot of those things kind of heavily lies on the fact that he was with the Rams. He's with a new team now. But I just, I'm staying away from him. Definitely not your number one guy. If you want to have a backup quarterback, maybe, but I would not put all my eggs in one basket with Bradford.
And don't draft a Peyton Manning and then draft a Sam Bradford.
Please no. Or a Brady that's
Andrew
suspended.
Luck, or somebody who like stays healthy and like has a doesn't
but
get
root for him. We want him to do well. We want him to stay healthy. But
I drafted him already in one of my drafts. I love Sam Bradford. The talent is there. He just has to have the opportunity to get on the field. So his body needs to hold up. So we'll see. Brayden, why is Stafford dropping so low in fantasy rankings? It's crazy.
Yeah, I saw this question on Twitter too. Yeah. I mean, on Twitter, the person mentioned one bad year. That's technically not true. Actually, last year wasn't that bad. But the problem is he has an end of the season problem, and fantasy owners are filled with trepidation.
Short memories.
It's been numerous. No, it's not even short memories. It's been 3 years in a row that he's petered out at the end of the season.
Yeah.
But the problem is he peters out when you're in your championship games. Exactly. That's where I'm saying short memory. It's he always doesn't show up when you really, really need him to.
And I don't know if that's because he's playing in Detroit. I don't, and they play a lot of other teams that are in bad weather, even though they're in a dome. Maybe. But he certainly has not adjusted. And what I will say is that I just don't know who I would move down. It's not necessarily that I hate Sam Bradford going into the season, but I love what we're talking about or I don't hate Matt Stafford, I'm sorry, because I love Sam Bradford. That's where I was going, because he's in a Chip Kelly offense, and it doesn't matter who's in the Chip Kelly offense. Now, what I've done when I've drafted Sam Bradford is I've also drafted Mark Sanchez as one of my last picks of the draft just for insurance. And I'm calling Sanchez the flow of the NFL. It's like a Progressive commercial. Get her.
Get her.
But you're not drafting Sam Bradford as your quarterback.
I'm drafting Bradford, and then I'm getting Mark Sanchez at the end. Yes, I'm not letting anyone else.
He's your starting quarterback.
In my draft, I picked Matthew Stafford as my starting and Sam Bradford as my backup. And then I've got two other starters. And then I got Brock Osweiler, just in case.
I have Sam Bradford in 2 quarterback leagues. So I have like Aaron Rodgers or Andrew Luck as my first one, and then I have Sam Bradford. But then I drafted Mark Sanchez. I'm telling you, if you draft him, you have to Sanchez.
You are not in a draft where you are waiting to the 8th round and then putting all your dough and your starting quarterback on Sam Bradford. You're not doing it.
I would if I got Mark Sanchez. Yes, I would.
Or if you take Sam Bradford, I don't mind Sam Bradford because he really does have all the talent, and he's in the Chip Kelly offense, as Brandon always says. But you have to pick somebody almost immediately after.
Yeah,
you have to take Tannehill. You have to take Bridgewater. You have to take Eli. You have to take one of those guys immediately off the board to ensure yourself. And then, as Ash Brandon said, you take a backup to him. So. You take your Mark Sanchez. I like Brock Osweiler because it doesn't matter if he's an elite quarterback. He's in an elite system with elite players. He's destined to do decent enough.
Well, sprinkles are for winners, Brandon, so we'll see if that pans out with Flo and Sam Bradford.
I'm telling you, he is the Flo of the 2015 season. Get it?
Oh, does that mean you're also going to draft a little bit of, what's his name, Tebow action too, just to back up the backup of the backup?
No, Tebow.
No, but I do like all the reports out of camp. I silently cheer for Tebow because you know what? Why not?
Why not? Yeah.
I like weird things.
No.
I don't. I cover the Dolphins, the Giants, and the Vikings. And out of the 3, Tannehill, Manning, and Bridgewater, it is close for me. But I will say that I am going to be the Tannehill girl.
Yes.
And this is going to be the opposite of why I like Luck more. Because Tannehill does go up against, his division is tough when it comes to defenses,
Yeah.
It's just, it is. Yeah, but they have so many new players for him to throw to. They have a great offensive line. So I'm not upset. And the first 2 games of the season are the Redskins and the Jaguars. So that's winning. I'm okay with that.
Sure
so even if Devontae Parker isn't back and healthy and whatnot, they're still going against the Redskins and the Jaguars. That's win-win.
I know.
That's a win-win. I do like Eli Manning. He is a close second for me. He had more yards and touchdowns than Tannehill last year, and he has the similar team, minus his backfield, some of his backfield, this year. Victor Cruz is back, which is big. ODB, of course, but there's always that sophomore slump. It's a possibility.
And his continual hamstring issues.
They just don't have a health. They get that offensive line is where I struggle with. They're young and unhealthy, and I just, they drafted Eric Flowers, and I hope that he comes out and just dominates like they say he's going to. I really do, but they lost a guy before OTAs, and it never seems to work out for that darn offensive line in the Giants. So, and with Teddy Bridgewater, I love him. I think he's got great talent. His numbers, I don't think, showed how well he improved last year, but I think it's going to be an AP show. So I just don't really see his numbers increasing to the point where we want them to, where they should, even though they do have more targets or better targets down the field. it's AP,
He's got upside, though.
All day, every day.
Yeah. I could agree with that.
He does have good upside, yeah, and I love the Vikings, and I think, I just worry that it might be a one-man show a bit. Well, let's go ahead and move on. We got the next three guys are Phillip Rivers, Carson Palmer, and Joe Flacco. This is a very close race between the three of them, in my opinion. I think we all kind of picked a different person here. It looks like, Ashley, you gonna stick with Mr. Rivers?
I am, and I feel like I don't love it. I don't love my choice with any of these guys. Is that terrible? Like, I was wavering the entire time. I was like trying to figure out who I want to pick on this one. But I mean, when you look at fantasy, Rivers has been the best overall the past 2 years. Granted, Palmer did get injured, and even I did look at a 3-year trend on this. But I mean, he came in at 6th highest scoring quarterback last year. in 2013, and 10th in 2014. But he hasn't won a Super Bowl, whereas Flacco has recently. From a fantasy standpoint, I would go back and forth between Rivers and Palmer, actually, because I think Palmer is just kind of, again, like a Sam Bradford, just bad luck with injuries and whatnot. But I'd have to go Rivers if I had to make a choice. I don't love Flacco's wide receiver situation this year.
Yeah, no, and I don't love that Flacco hasn't gone over 4,000 yards in a season, but he's never missed a game. And now he has Mark Trestman as his offensive coordinator. And now Justin Forsett is finally going into the season as the undisputed starter. So I like that. So that's kind of how I feel about Joe Flacco.
Got good hands. Yeah, I mean,
I wouldn't draft him as my first person by any means because of the rookie wide receiver situation, but I would say that for a backup, I feel like he's the most secure backup, borderline you could even have. And if you're in a 2-quarterback league, he's always going to play. He has not missed a game since 2008 when he came into the league.
Flacco's the kind of guy that doesn't lose your games for you.
He is sturdy.
He is sturdy. That is something to be said. He's a big, sturdy guy. He will not lose your game.
Perfect backup only.
Absolutely. He is a great backup. I do love him. But I think for me, Carson Palmer is the guy that you could end up putting in as your starter. And I just love, I like him. He had a great season before he got hurt. No, it's not great that he's 35 and coming off of a knee injury. That's not awesome, but he's 100%. He's done with rehab. He's on the game. It's going to be good. I think it's going to be a really good season for the Arizona Cardinals. And I love Carson Palmer.
I know.
So I'm hoping for a Carson Palmer comeback and a Fitzgerald comeback.
Oh, yeah. I've drafted Fitzgerald.
Sam Bradford moment, but yeah.
He's going so low. He's like the fire sale of the NFL.
Well, let's get into the bottom. Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and get into the bottom part, the bottom half of the draft where, it's your second, third, fourth quarterback here. But, 2-quarterback leagues, some of these guys, they're all starters supposedly at this point. Some are still up for debate, which is kind of my first question. Which of these guys is not going to be on the ranking list, let's say, come week 10?
I'm saying Hoyer because the Texans are a hot mess.
Well, should we say who they are just so everyone knows?
Well, I think everyone knows.
Let's just say, all right, let's just say the bottom right. We got Colin Kaepernick at 19, Jay Cutler 20, Derek Carr 21, Nick Foles, Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota, Andy Dalton, Alex Smith, Geno Smith. 28, we got Blake Bortles, Robert Griffith III, Josh McCown, Brian Hoyer, and ending it up at 32, we have E.J. Manuel. So yes, Brandon picked 31 to be off the list. They're gone. Brian Hoyer, goodbye.
Well, I just think the Texans are the problem. I don't even know if it's Hoyer.
It's going to be goodbye. That's fair.
Yep.
That's good. That's good. They got a defense. Ashley, who's your pick?
If I had to make a guess, it'd be E.J. Manuel. He's in this middle of this three-way quarterback competition with Matt Castle and Tyrod Taylor. You know, Manuel's a bit all over the place last year, but he hopes he's put on a little bit of weight, which is going to help him. But he's got a vet in the waiting with Matt Castle, who's actually had 2 10-win seasons and has been a Pro Bowl. But for some reason, people just do not seem to take Castle seriously. But Rex Ryan's one of those guys that likes to buck the trend, and he supports his guy. You know, if you're his guy, he supports you, a.k.a. Sanchez, Flo, anyone? Rex Ryan. He sticks with his guy. So if Castle becomes his guy, he may have that belief in him that can take him to the next level.
I love
Again,
Castle.
not a starter level.
Love Castle.
But, yeah.
My kids have a Castle Kansas City jersey, just so you know. And my pick, of course it is. I can't believe it's not all of our picks. Mr. RG3, adios, amigo. Bye-bye.
Yeah, but the owner's still the owner. So
I don't care. He's either going to fake an injury by week 6 because his play is so bad, or he's actually going to get injured by week 8. That is my prediction. See you later.
Bold prediction.
It's done, guys. It's done. Rookie quarterbacks, you guys. Mariota, Winston. I think we're all on the same page here. Unfortunately, it's really unfortunate. Somebody landed on the better team. Little Winston, huh?
I think it's going to be close, guys. I really do. I would love to be able to say Mariota. I would love to, in my hearts of hearts, say that Mariota is going to top. Yeah. But I really do think Winston's probably going to end up, out of the two of them, slightly better this year. You know, Winston played in a bit more of a developed offense in college, and he's, you know, the more closely resembled NFL play. I also like that Winston's got a vet in Vincent Jackson, and he's got a top 10 receiver last year in Mike Evans. So that's great. And I will say, while I hate to say it, the guy has had his fair share of distractions and is still able to keep his head in the game. That's actually a really huge trait that you can't teach. But then again, you got, Mariota, who's got, Harry Douglas, Hakeem Nicks. I like that. But at the end of the day, it's probably going to be Winston for me. If he can stay out of trouble.
Well, we do these very detailed outlines. You guys don't get to see it. You just get to hear us talking, and we go off of them or what have you. But we write all the stats, and Courtney and I decided to write one sentence apiece. Because really, it was just like, yeah, it'll be Winston. I have no interest in drafting him. Okay, bye, thanks.
I think it's going to be closer than you guys
Mike Evans and Vincent Jackson. That's the only reason.
Yeah, Mike Evans, Vincent Jackson.
It's not the coaching. It's not the line. No. It's clearly those two players. That's it. I think Mariota has the talent and is
Mariota's also
ready
got
to
Delaney
play.
Walker, guys.
Tennessee just has to grow.
Uno sentence.
Uno sentence.
What I don't like, what sold me on Winston versus Mariota is the fact that they've still got Justin Hunter and Kendall Wright as their leading wide receivers, and those are those potential guys that never seem to do anything, and that's not going to help Mariota out at all.
Potential. It's my least favorite word in fantasy.
Potential.
Yeah.
I like their backup guys better. I do.
Ugh.
Okay, Cordell.
All right, guys.
Patterson.
Yeah, right. Cordell Patterson, you're the reason why I hate the word potential. Thank you.
And Michael Floyd.
I still love Michael Floyd. I don't care. I'll take that potential. I don't know why. I drafted him again this year. My husband said, "Why did you do that?" So I just am a glutton. If I don't take Cordell, I have to take Floyd, and it's one or the other. You got to give and take. All right, who on this list jumps off that you think has the potential, our favorite word, to be a top 10 quarterback at the end of the year? Anyone?
Well, you put yourself first on the
I did. I don't think anyone is going to.
Well, you said really Blake Bortles. Just say Blake Bortles.
Well, I don't think anybody's going to, but if I had to do a crazy guess, I would say Blake Bortles and the fact that he has talented receivers. I think that are a little underestimated. I think if they can gel well,
Yeah.
I think with Marquise Lee, Allen Robinson, and Hearns, that there's that potential to have some chemistry. So we'll see how that line is doing and how the running backs can get it together. But
and FYI, Allen Hearns is the starter, and he's free. Everywhere you go, you can just give him whatever you want.
They have decent receivers, people. Skip over Tennessee and make your way to Jacksonville.
Yeah, and Bortles was playing through a very an injury, shoulder injury of whatnot, and he had a hard time throwing the ball. So supposedly he's completely recovered, and a different player this year. So we'll see.
And a heinous offensive line.
Really bad.
they have a fresh offensive line this year. They've made a lot of draft picks. So
it's a young team, and it's gelling. It's a gelling.
Gelling.
That's why I forced Courtney to use her outline, because I thought her choice was good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And my choice is Colin Kaepernick, and you can all judge me now.
Which is not good.
Okay. Well, listen, he ended the 2014 season better than you thought. You know what? He was putrid the rest of the year, so we ignored him at the end because we were like, whatever. But you know what? Frankly, he only scored one rushing touchdown, and it was in Week 16. He also ran 151 yards in that one game. If they let him go, if they let him be the Russell Wilson-ish of the 49ers, he could be pretty decent.
Yeah.
But he is not a pocket passer. He's not the guy that they're trying to force him to be.
No.
It makes me uncomfortable. And so, I don't know. We'll see. If he can run like a gazelle like he did early in his career, you can get him for basically free. So I don't hate that. But yeah, again, I think that the rankings are pretty clear.
I agree. I do think Nick Foles has a chance, though, guys. I've already talked about him quite a bit this offseason, but I love the deep ball threats that he's got in his receivers, and Foles can throw the deep ball. He's got an arm there, and he's consistent, and the guy doesn't throw interceptions. He doesn't give up the ball.
Well, he did last year.
Well, but he also got hurt. I mean, and the thing is that, there really aren't that many expectations around Foles per se. Everyone thinks it's an interesting situation, but the Rams got a bit of a facelift, and I think they're going to really like the results of it when it's all said and done. I think Foles has a chance.
Totally.
I also like that they already want to sign him.
Yeah,
they're like, we're in.
Sold. All right, guys, we have a Twitter question from one of our favorites with an Ohio bias. We love you. All right, guys, he's in some two starting quarterback leagues, and he wants a backup quarterback, Bridgewater, Carr, or Tannehill. I love that Derek Carr is involved with that. So, no.
Tannehill, for me.
I like Bridgewater, Norv Turner.
I'm a Tannehill girl.
Tannehill. He's got a lot of weapons. They added a lot in Miami. And he did well last year.
Yeah. This is another two-quarterback question. It says that, do you see two-quarterback leagues as the future for fantasy football?
I think it's a really fun variation.
Yeah.
I think people...
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. I like traditional... It should be traditional football.
It's unrealistic.
Traditional.
It's unrealistic, yeah.
But I think it's a really fun one to have as your second league. Like, you have either your standard or your PPR league, and then you have a fun one that's just, quarterbacks, receivers, running backs, tight ends, whatnot. And it's really fun. But I don't think I would enjoy it as much if that was my only fantasy league.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Well, thank you guys for commenting on our Twitter at HerFantasyFB. We love those. We try to send them out before our shows each week so you can ask your specific questions. Next week we'll be doing wide receivers, and the week following that we'll be doing running backs. So always good things to talk about with the running backs. Thank you so much for listening. You can check us out at Blog Talk Radio /HerFantasyFootball and on iTunes, where you can leave us a nice ranking and say hello. Also, chat us up on Facebook /HerFantasyFootball, and again on Twitter at HerFantasyFB. Until next time, no more faking it.